Okay, so welcome back to the Intuition Manifesto Masterclass. This is our 6th class since we started this in the month of April. We took a little bit of a hiatus in the month of May because I was traveling to Costa Rica, and we are now back on. So I'm very excited to be back. Martha, thank you. Teresa James, thank you. Always puts a big smile on my face to see Teresa with her red glasses. Makes me want to buy red glasses. I did buy pink sunglasses with frames looking for red sunglasses because it's just so joyous. So thank you, Teresa, for participating and being here today. Did you guys all have a great Memorial Day weekend?
Yes, I did.
Wonderful, Martha. And whereabouts in the country are you, or whereabouts in the world are you, Martha?
It's Boston, and right now here is like 10, 11. So I'm looking at the sun over there where you are.
Boston. So it's probably, if I had to guess, it's probably a little chillier than it is here in Southern California, I would imagine.
Yes.
Yeah, just a wee bit, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Well, and Teresa, I know Teresa's in Tennessee. So glad to have you guys back on. So I'm going to bring the music here down. There she is. I love her radiant smile. How are you doing, Teresa?
I'm doing well. I'm just so tired. You see me here in my robe, but I put my glasses back on.
Awesome. It makes me smile. I see your glasses and your pearly whites. It's just such a joyous, radiant expression every single time I see you. So thank you, my friend. That's a gift. Just you showing up, showing your face is putting a smile on my face too. It's contagious.
Awesome. You're the best. That's all I can say. You're the best.
I can't wait to meet you in person. I feel like I've known you forever. So Martha, you too. And it's funny, you're talking about being a little tired because it's the end of the day. One of the cool things about doing the Intuition Manifesto class is at the end of the day, so that most of you, I'm on the Pacific coast, of course. So it's 3 hours earlier from the East Coast and 9 hours earlier from Europe. And it's about 17 hours earlier. It's actually the afternoon the next day. It's about 3 o'clock right now in Australia, depending whereabouts in Australia you are. And so the nice thing about watching and participating in the Intuition Manifesto Master Classes at the end of the day is that this is the last bit of content that you're going to get. It's positive content that now you are going to finish your day in an elevated emotion, and after you walk away from this class, your brain is still digesting and mulling over everything you experienced during the hour and a half that we're together. And so now you get to go to sleep, and now you get to digest it at a subconscious level, at a much deeper level. And that is probably the optimal way for us to learn, to be able to sleep after we take in content. Or the next best option would be to be in a relaxed state as you're receiving the content, and then to remain in a relaxed state afterwards, so that instead of your brain being in the high beta brainwave state, which we talked about, I think 2 lessons ago, it was our last lesson. We talked about state control and about the, alpha, the delta, the beta, the gamma brainwaves, and how, usually when we're in class, when we're, working, we're busy getting our to-do list done, we're checking our emails and all that, we're in a low to a medium beta state. And if you're kind of in crunch time where you really got to get a lot of stuff done, your brain goes to the high beta brainwave state. And that's not necessarily always the best brainwave state to be in order for you to learn. So one of the things that I always like to start off with is for us doing breath work. I also like to kind of get you guys charged up so that you get any kind of negative thoughts, feelings, or emotions that may or may not be tied to anxiety, nervousness, or critical thinking, that it would be wiped out. And of course, it's through doing the PSMO. Now, I want to share with you guys I'm kind of peeling back the veil or the curtain, as you will. And I'm going to share here. My screen kind of stopped sharing. It should be sharing. It says, okay, it's sharing again. So I want to share with you something that I just noticed today, which, considering that I do the PSMO every morning, it's astonishing. Oftentimes when we have realizations, it's like, how did I not realize this before? When you do, especially when you're doing something, all the time, every day, right? So I did the PSMO in my room, in my bedroom, because I do that in front of the mirror when I first woke up. And of course, I'm always wearing my pajamas and stuff like that. But then earlier this afternoon, I decided to do the PSMO again. Now I'm going to show you, I'm going to demo for you, and I think you guys can hear, but you're going to see, I was standing in front, there's a mirror. I don't know if you probably can't see this on camera, but right here, there's a mirror. So I began to do the PSMO and I was looking at myself in the mirror. And if you guys recall, one of the things that happens when you do the PSMO, the first part is the physiological size. So you have three sets of three physiological size. You do those three sets, right? And then you do the maniocular technique, which I think that's like my favorite part of the PSMO because it feels so good to exercise. We don't think about it as a culture, as a society at large. People don't normally do eye exercises unless you've had eye surgery. Most people never have eye exercises, other than the only exception to that would be, I would say, the Taoist and the Buddhist monks, because I know that the Taoist and the Buddhist monks, part of their martial arts training does include eye exercises. So the third part of the PSMO, of course, is the lymphatic flush. And as you guys know, when you do the lymphatic flush, you have your hands open for 30 counts. And then after that, you switch your hands to fists, and it's part of increasing your testosterone. There's all sorts of hormonal and energetic things that you're doing, and neurosomatics, because since you're engaging both legs and both hands and you're moving, there's different parts of your brain that light up when you do that. So what was interesting was this time I was kind of being playful and coquettish because I played the song by Bruno Mars called Uptown Funk. And as I was playing with that, I was kind of, more than looking at the mirror, I was kind of feeling myself kind of like, when you're doing the part of the PSMO where it's the lymphatic flush, you're bouncing like a boxer. A boxer's not sexy, right? But I'm a girl, right? So I'm going kind of thinking it's like, oh yeah, I feel really sexy. What's interesting is as I did that and I looked at myself in the mirror, I'm thinking that I'm being kind of very provocative and very sexy as I'm twisting my hips and I'm doing, it's the boxer bouncing on the balls of your feet, but my body feels like it's really moving and it feels like I'm being very sexy and provocative. But when I looked in the mirror, it was not that provocative or sexy. And I thought, that is so strange. And then I kept on looking in the mirror and looking at myself. And then I would close my eyes and I would feel my body. And I'm really twisting and I'm really feeling like I'm really being very provocative and sexy. And I'm looking at the mirror and yeah, you can see that I'm moving, but I'm not that sexy and I'm not that provocative. And I thought, this has to do with our perception. My perception was what inside the way I was feeling. Now, I don't know, maybe if a guy was in front, maybe he would have thought it was sexy and provocative. I'm just saying from my perspective, from what I was feeling inside my body and what I was seeing in the mirror didn't match. I felt sexy and provocative, but as I looked, it didn't seem that big of a movement. It didn't seem like it was that much. And how often do we have perceptions where we think something is far greater and I'm going to take this not just with the positive, but sometimes with the negative. Sometimes we think something is so awful, or that someone is thinking so ill of us, or that perhaps that we made such a bad impression on someone else, and we're feeling really bad on the inside, and the other person, it's not even registering. And you may be acting awkward around that person because you're like feeling, oh my gosh, I made them feel bad, or they're now going to have a bad opinion about me. Your perception is that you were very rude. Maybe you were short. Maybe you were angry. The truth is the other way around too. You may have been very short, come across as being very short and very angry. And maybe that was not what you were feeling. Maybe you were feeling hurried. Maybe you were feeling pressured. Maybe you felt anxious. Maybe you felt overwhelmed, and their perception isn't that. Their perception is, boy, isn't she bitchy? Why is she mad? What did I do wrong? And it's like, or what am I doing wrong? Or, oh my gosh, I didn't mean to offend her. Now she's pissed at me. Oh my gosh, she's not even looking at me. It has to do with perceptions. It has to do with perceptions. And so I want us to take a little bit of time over the next 7 days until we do our next Intuition Manifesto class to really do a little checks and balance. I know as women, there are some men that are part of the Intuition Manifesto. There's a lot of readers that are men as well as women. I really thought it was going to be like 80-20, 80% women, 20% men. It's turning out to be closer to 50, maybe more men right now than women for whatever incredible reason. But the truth of the matter is we're all human beings, and we all have a certain feeling inside of our body as we become aware of what it is that we're feeling, what we're intending to project, what we're intending to do. And then there's the perception that we have that we're giving. And then there's a perception, of course, of others. We're not responsible for other people's perception of us. I mean, I'm sure that there are people who see me on YouTube and on Facebook, and they probably think, what a silly girl, or that lady's whacked, or, she's way off her rocker, or, who does she think she is? Does she think she's like a magician, that she's whatever? And then there are other people that I obviously resonate with. And so it's not my job to micromanage all of that. That would be a colossal waste of my time, of course. But the reality is that we are only responsible for our own energy and the energy that we put out in the world, and what energy we allow into our experience as well. And so as part of, meditation means to know thyself. And in order for you to be intuitive, we're all born intuitive. And so these master classes are fine-tuning you to get back to up-level your intuition, so that your intuition grows and it expands, so that you can use it in a more reliable, certain way, that that you can count on it, not just here or there, or in a crisis, or in a specific situation, but that you can use it all the time. The green light of intuition is always on, because now you are aware of it all the time, and you realize that, I realize that part of the secret of having my intuition on is to know myself, which in meditation, that's what we do. We know ourselves through meditation, because we quiet down the noise outside, and then we get very quiet, very still. And meditation doesn't have to be a 30-minute, 1 hour, 2 hour, 5 hour process. It's literally one breath away. In the moment that either there's something unwanted or something that you're trying to calibrate, you're trying to tap into your intuition is just a few breaths away. Just as soon as you slow down your breath, slow down your heart rate, slow down your brain waves, you're already tuning yourself into receiving, being in your right mind, not being in your left mind, where you are a hostage or a prisoner, or you're captive to all your past thoughts, feelings, emotions, your education, your experiences, which by definition are all finite. You're going, nope, we're going to put that on pause. I'm going to slow down my breath, slow down my heart rate, slow down my brainwave. I'm going to choose to be in my right mind. I'm going to stay heart-centered. And for some of us, I had to go through the process of being open-hearted, closing my heart. And then in 2010, I had to decide, oh, crap. I think so ignorant. I was like, I think maybe, just maybe my heart is closed. And I realized that doesn't behoove me. And that's probably one of the most detrimental things I could do for myself, my well-being, not just physically and from a health standpoint, but also from a spiritual perspective. I don't know how to do this, but I got to open my heart. And then the process began as I made that choice, not knowing, not having, I didn't know how to close my heart, but I did it. So you don't need to know the how. That's the beauty. And with your intuition, we are now having some guided steps that you can take. Now you know it's just a breath away. Talk about it in the book. Talk about in chapter 4 in the book. I talk about how having an open heart and having an open brain and getting into heart and brain coherence, where you choose to connect the two and not just be in the chatter of your left brain all the time, but you're like, whoa, I'm going to center myself. I'm going to ground myself. I'm going to really pay attention to how I think, how I feel, what I sense. It's not just about the emotions. We can't deny the emotions. I mean, the first sign of a closed heart is to have the refusal to feel any kind of negative emotion, or even the refusal to feel very elevated emotions. There are people, I've met people who not only, they don't allow themselves to get mad, angry, or sad, but they also don't allow themselves to get very happy, joyous, excited, enthusiastic. They try to stay always, they're always in denial of emotions in either direction. They try to stay in the middle ground. So they're kind of numb. And they're numb, and oftentimes, they use outside substances. It could be shopping, it could be working like crazy, workaholism. It could be, an obsession with a particular hobby or pastime. It could be anything, or it could be a substance. Some people use alcohol, but it's alcohol, smoking, any kind of vice, drugs. It could be anything, It could even be like wanting to read 24/7 or watch TV 24/7 or watch YouTube videos 24/7. You can use anything to distract yourself from being present and allowing yourself to be in a place where you're actually authentically being the true you. There's no one there but you to criticize you about what it is that you're feeling and you're sensing. So as we get started here today, we're going to move forward, and let me see if I can show you. This screen share is not letting me show you the questions that I had written below. So I'm going to have to stop the screen share for a second. It's kind of funny. It won't go down. So technology can sometimes be kind of funny. So let's try the share again. Maybe it'll work.
Lillian, would you say intuition is comparable to law of attraction? Not comparable, it's not the right word.
Yeah, I know what you're trying to say. It's not, okay, so the law of attraction isn't comparable. It's not a substitution. It's an aspect of your intuition.
Okay.
It is. Because there are the 7 Hermetic principles, which later on in the series, we're going to go through some of the Hermetic principles. There's the law of attraction, which has to do with polarity. We live in, it's only in the 3D plane on Earth that we have polarity, where the daytime gives definition to the nighttime, and the nighttime gives definition to the daytime. If it were daytime all the time, there would be no such thing as nighttime, because there would only be day. So by definition, there wouldn't be anything to distinguish the two. Therefore, night wouldn't exist and day wouldn't exist. It would just be a state of being. So the daytime defines the night, the nighttime defines the day. It's because we have nighttime that we have that contrast of day. We have up, we have down, we have positive, we have negative, we have skinny, we have fat, we have good, we have bad. So it's the plane of duality. So that's one of the Hermetic principles that has to do with the law of polarity. We have the law of attraction, because we have the polarity of the positive and the negative. Just like a magnet, you have a positive end, a negative end. You put 2 magnets that are of opposing polarity, they stick together. If they're both positive, they repel. If they're both negative, they repel. But if they're positive and negative, they attract. One's female, one's male, there's attraction, especially if you have a very feminine female with a very masculine male, they really attract each other. If you have a very masculine woman with a very effeminate man, it's not going to be as much attraction. There's going to be some attraction because there is a difference, but the ultimate polarity, the more feminine and the more masculine, the greater polarity you're going to have between those two opposing ends. So you also have the law of correspondence. You have which has to do with things. The best way to think of the law of correspondence is kind of like, if you remember in geometry, you have things that complement each other, that correspond. So cool little thing. Let me see if I can remember. Like if you look at your hand, this is just a little factoid, which nobody talks about this, but it's just kind of a strange, I don't know why I know this. But if you look at your hand, I'm going to do, this is my attempt at drawing a right angle. Maybe I need to do it with a marker so it shows up better. Let me do it a little darker because that pen's not thick enough. So if you look here, that's a right angle, okay? So if you were to take your hand, and this is just kind of a little factoid, if you were to hold your hand up against this on the piece of paper, you would see that your pinky and this thumb create a right angle. If I go from here to here, and if I were to put it on a paper and I would put a, I'm trying to remember the measuring device that we use to do the degrees and so forth, but it's basically 30 degrees, 45 degrees, 60 degrees, and 90 degrees, quite literally.
Protractor.
A protractor, that's exactly right. So if you were to take a protractor and you were to draw this your hand inside a square, you would see it's like, I'll be darned. It's like, this is pretty accurate. So this is 90 degrees. This is 30 degrees. This is 45 degrees. This is 60 degrees. Everybody's hand is designed, unless your hand is deformed, but the human hand is designed to fit within those means. So in geometry, you know that we have, like if I put two triangles together, they can complement each other. They correspond with each other. If you put four of them together, they'll make a square, right? So that has to do with the law of correspondence. So there's all sorts of different laws that I don't want to say come alongside. I want to say that they envelop our intuition. The truth of the matter is that once you get really good at using your intuition, you don't even have to be aware. There's really no need to be aware of all those different hermetic principles. Those things are going to bring certain things to your awareness as you learn about them, and you'll go, oh, I get it. Okay, so I understand this line of reasoning, this thought pattern, and so on and so forth. It starts to help you make sense of the world and so forth, but it's not necessary for you to have that in order for you to use your intuition or calibrate your intuition for that matter. But all of it is, there are elements that are affecting your intuition, and your intuition, even though your intuition might be that you will sense that something is in favor, like for you or not for you. It's one of those things where it's not going to be as detailed, most likely. As you develop your intuition more, then of course you start to develop more skill, and then you start to ask more effective questions, because half the battle is getting in a calm state. It's really hard to hear your intuition. If you're in a hurry, it's very difficult. If you're freaked out, if you're frightened, it's far more difficult, to listen to your intuition. I'm going to say that in anger, you can still listen to your intuition, but the anger could be distracting. It depends on the person and how hot they're getting in anger, because anger can be an energy that can elevate you, which in April Yvette's story that I talk about in the book, and she finally had enough with her life circumstances, with the abusive relationship, with the poverty, with the lack of education, with the not having, with all the garbage that she had going on in her life. She's like, enough. She finally got mad and said, this is completely unacceptable. I'm not having any more of this. I have no idea how I'm going to get out of this jam. I have no idea. I don't have anybody in my family that I can see that's better off. Everybody is singing the same tune on the same page of music. They're all broke. They're all abused. They all have abusive relationships. They all are poor, uneducated, and with seemingly no options. And it's like, I'm going to figure this out. And this changes with me. And my daughters and I are going to move forward. We're going to leave that in the past. And so anger was the energy that lifted her up. It was the oomph that she needed. The energy of anger is way better than the anger of depression. Depression is a sign that you have repressed creativity, you have repressed communication, you have repressed emotions, and you have repressed intuition because you've been denying and going against yourself, which is what's depressing you. The quickest way to get somebody out of depression, separate from the PSMO method, is to get them to do some sort of music, some sort of art, or some sort of sport, something where they're out of the typical doldrums that they're doing, and they're now starting to move the energy. The music feels good. The art feels good because you're expressing, you're writing, journaling, you're doing some sort of sport. So you're getting out of your left mind. You're kind of more in a present. In order to do sports, you have to be present. You can't be dwelling in the past. You can't be forecasting what's going to happen next week, because if not, the bat will hit you in the face. The racket will, smack you in the head, whatever, if you're ice skating, you'll land on your bum, or you'll run into someone, or someone will run into you. So you have to be very present in all of those endeavors, which automatically takes you out of your depression and gets you out of the loop. The only reason why you're depressed is because you keep on thinking the same 90-second thought pattern that you are rehearsing in your head. It's like 90 seconds over and over and over and over and over again for hours, days, weeks, months, years, sometimes decades. And so that is part of knowing yourself. And anger can be used to fuel. Anger is way better than depression. That's why, like in the scriptures, if you read any of, whether it's Protestant Bible, Catholic Bible, Jewish Bible, the Buddhist and the Taoist sacred texts as well, it talks about how being lukewarm, if you're on the fence about something and you're not passionate about something, you don't hate it either, you're just kind of like, because when you're in that state of nothing changes, because you've settled, you're just sitting on the fence. You don't really care either way. You're lukewarm. So in the scriptures, it says that if you're lukewarm, if you're sitting on the fence, that the divine, it's like they vomit you from that place of being, because they would rather you be like flaming, excited, passionate, crazy, happy, enthusiastic, or be livid, furious, mad. At least the energy is moving in a direction. Even if you're moving in the wrong direction, you can zigzag and still make it to where, and still be progressing and get to where you got to go. But if you're sitting on the fence and you're depressed, you're indifferent, you're not feeling anything, you're just stuck there by choice, because it's always by choice, conscious or unconscious, but it's still by choice, then you just stay there ad infinitum until the day that something happens, either someone, somebody, something, somewhere, someplace, sometimes something in your experience will happen, or most people don't end up, just passing away with no change. Usually life will throw things at you that will wake you up or jolt you or make you aware. It could be something personal. It could be a natural catastrophe. It could be a world event. It doesn't matter. Something is going to happen, because you're not designed to be in a perpetual state of depression. We are here to create. We're here to live a life of joy, of happiness. We are here to co-create with each other, because really we are creators with the divine, and we are creators with each other. Just like you guys, believe it or not, Teresa, Martha, all of you who've taken the Intuition Manifesto Masterclasses, you helped write this book, because that energy in an unexpected moment came through me and decided to express itself in all these words that I didn't know what the heck was going on when it happened. But once I realized that this was an entire book, obviously there are enough of you out in this 3D plane that were asking for this content. I was the path of least resistance. I'm still writing that other book. I was writing another book. I was working on other projects when this thing, obviously there is a high degree of wanting, of desire, of seeking. If you look at the word desire, I believe I talk about the word desire in the book. And desire comes, if you break it down, D-E-S-I-R-E. De means of in Latin, and sire. It's like to sire. When you have a sire, you're siring a horse. That horse is fathering, another horse with a mare. And so desire means of the Father. So it's the divine that puts that desire, that feeling in your heart of wanting something better, of knowing that there's got to be a better way, of knowing that you had to beat all odds for you to be alive in this day and age, for the thousands of ancestors that you've had to be able to survive the floods, all sorts of illness, the wars, all the chaos, all the natural disasters. For you to be alive at this point in time, you had quite a bit of energy that had to come through. It's no mistake that you're here. You're here for something incredible. Every single one of us has a genius that is wanting to bubble up and come forth. We don't all have to be geniuses in physics, geniuses in calculus, geniuses in making rockets, genius in creating electrical vehicles like Elon Musk and creating PayPal and things like that. We all have our area of genius, and it's all valuable. It's all needed. None of it is wasted, but so much of us deny ourselves from that. So make no mistakes. You are as responsible as I am for having written this book. You are as responsible as I am for having created these Intuition Manifesto master classes, because you sought it, you have found it. And so here we are. It's a divine appointment at a place and time, thanks to technology, that we are able to remotely connect with each other. Some of us are fortunate to sometimes see each other in person, but it doesn't matter. You're still able to access the information, whether you catch it on the live broadcast or whether you catch it on the replay, you're still getting it. And so this is all a co-creation. So every single thing, those things that you absolutely love and adore to do, that is part of a clue to what it is that you're supposed to do on your path of bringing your genie out, your genius, sharing that with us, and being able to monetize that. The tests and tribulations that you've experienced up until now is part of the testimony and the process of sharing your story with the world to show them how you got from point A to point B to point C to point D. Now you're at point E, and now you're giving back this gift as you start to weave the various things that you love and like to do that are the desires of your heart. You're able to serve it up and just be the authentic you, and the world's like, give me some more of that. I want to, you know what, I'm fascinated with what it is that you're saying. I want to hear more. And you know what? It's like, I'm willing to put some money down, and I want to buy your book. I want to sign up for your classes. I want to show up in person. I'm willing to travel to meet you in person and to be part of an experience for 3 days, 5 days, 7 days, whatever the case might be. And, if maybe speaking on platforms like that isn't your thing, it doesn't matter. Whatever it is, maybe your thing is creating beautiful, maybe it's creating China. Maybe you have this proclivity for creating beautiful China, or maybe creating things that don't even exist, that we don't even have a name for. And you're going to come up with this device that solves a problem that you have right now. And when others see, it's like, wait a minute, where did you get that? What's that called? You're like, oh, I just call it a such and such. I just made it for myself because I looked and looked and looked. I couldn't find it anywhere. And so I just made this for myself. Really? Would you make one for me? Whatever it is, just tell me how much you want. I want one too. That happens all the time. So a lot of that is paying attention to your intuition. there's a movie that's called P.S. I Love You. I want to encourage you guys to check it out. It's a movie with Hilary Swank and with Gerard Butler. And in that movie, there comes a point in the movie where she is in a depression because she has lost love. I don't want to spoil it for you, so I want you to watch the film if you haven't watched it yet. But what's beautiful about the movie is that her inspiration starts to bubble forth as her depression starts to, she's starting to willing to let go. Her friends, her mother are trying to coax her out of the house to stop being in this state of depression. And she starts allowing herself to realize it's like, wow, before this tragic event happened, she was doing a job that she did just for money. She really didn't like it. She actually kind of hated it. Couldn't stand the clients that she had. It was frustrating to no end. She did okay at it, but she wasn't super successful. But she had a passion. There was a little artist sitting inside of her that loved to design and draw shoes. And so she started to come to a place where she started to doodle with playing with the possibility of just what if beyond just drawing the shoe design that was so cool looking on paper, what if she were to actually be able to make that happen in 3D? And then they show you the process of how she used things in her house. She didn't even have to go to the store to buy anything. She took existing shoes that she had. She took existing pieces of jewelry and hardware that she had already in her home. And she created these really cool looking shoes, which totally changed the look of her shoes. So I won't spoil it for you. Go watch the movie, but it shows you how her starting to open herself up to allow her intuition to come through. And it wasn't a monumental step. Sometimes there are those of us who will take a monumental step in one direction or the other, but more often than not, it'll be a small step that you start to baby step towards what it is. You start to give yourself permission to say, you know what if I could make a living at this? What if people really would pay money for my designs? What if I could spend all my time designing these things, creating them, sharing them, showing them off, making customized things for people who request a specific type of design in whatever shape or form? And so all those things are possible. And there are many things that you guys will create that no one has ever seen or heard of before. I mean, think about it. 20 years ago, we didn't have this easy button, right? But in the last 15 years, somebody invented it. And I'm one of millions of people who have bought this easy button because all the Staples office supply stores, there was a time where they all carried this all the time in the store. I think now you can only get it, not 100% sure, but I got mine on Amazon. So it didn't exist 20 years ago, but I'm sure someone thought, oh, this is just a kind of a cute toy. And yet how many businesses have used it as a motivational tool in the office environment, to the point where Staples signed a contract with someone who created this and decided however many hundreds of stores Staples has, they had them in the Staples store. You know that the person who invented this made a nice chunk of change. They probably made millions. And so there's so many things like that we can, are like that you just have to open the realm of possibility. So before we continue and get in a little deeper here, I want to just make a quick little announcement about this Intuition Manifesto Facebook Masterclass and the Facebook Intuition Manifesto private group. And as you guys know, there were 5 classes that were done in April. And that was part of, because you invested and bought the paperback or the hardcover book, that's part of your promotion. We also have the ability in the group to do networking and mastermind with like-minded individuals. We recently had one of the girls, Lauren. There are 2 girls that have almost the same name, and the pronunciation of their name is almost the same. It's so funny because for a long time I thought they were the same person, and it turns out they're 2 separate people. So we have 2 gals that have the name of Lauren Gerlain, but there's one who recently became a trainer. She just got certified since she read the Intuition Manifesto book. So this is also a place where you guys get to share, like, if you become certified in something, if you get a promotion, if something happens that your intuition led you to this wonderful outcome, we want to hear about it. We want to celebrate you. We want to encourage you. This gives hope and enthusiasm, and it keeps the energy moving for everyone that's in the group. So I want to encourage you guys to do that. Also, question and answers. You can post whatever questions you have in the group. Each other can answer them. We'll also answer those questions that you have here on these Intuition Manifesto master classes. We have one Q&A that was at the beginning of April, and we will have periodically here and there Q&As where the entire hour will be Q&As. Most of the classes, I already have a predefined curriculum. So in the group, I already let you guys see from the 6th class to the 10th class what the topic of each class will be. In the Intuition Manifesto private group, you'll also receive announcements about not only the live Zoom courses, but also some other free things that we're offering, some free meditations. There's also some meditations and some hypnosis and meditations that will be available, for fee. We also have book club readings and book tours. What else? And of course, there's always, we always want you to share your signs, your symbols, your synchronicity. And I love surprises. So we are going to have surprises. So I wrote down here real quickly, just so that you guys have a visual here. These are the dates coming up in June. They're always a Wednesday starting at 7 p.m. We have the 1st, the 8th, the 15th, the 22nd, and the 29th of June. And what else? I already told you. I'll do a quick little recap. Today is going to be on heart and brain coherence, how to open your heart, how to open your brain, and how to connect them. Next week, we'll do the art and science of letting go, which is the art and science of surrendering, to surrender. The 8th week will be I am worthy coding. We're going to literally encode in your body worthiness, because that is a pervasive, predominant issue for humans on planet Earth, is feeling worthy. The 9th week, we are going to do the 5R target activation. So there are 5 R's that we are going to activate within your systems. And then number 10 has to do with the eyes. There's the physical eyes, there's the inner vision, and then there's the eyes that are all part of your skin and your electromagnetic field. Okay. So right now, I want you guys to take just a few minutes. We're going to do a little focus, and it's basically a very brief, very, very brief meditation. So I want you to, this is one of my favorite things to show people. It's a very elementary form of meditation and relaxation. And I want you to just focus on the center of your palm. You're going to look at your hand. Everybody has a hand. Wherever you go, there it is. So it's all the tools that you have are already on your body. So look at your hand. And as you focus your awareness on the palm of your hand, you start to become aware that there's a little tingly sensation in the center of your hand. And you notice that tingly sensation is starting to travel up the fingers, and you feel a little something, a little energy on the fingers of your hand and on your thumb. And as you continue to notice that, and you start to allow yourself to slow down your breath, slowly inhaling, holding, and then slowly exhaling. Then inhaling again, slowly, hold, and exhale, hold. And as you inhale in this third breath, slowly inhaling, hold, and exhale. I want you next to lower your hand and now look across the room about 10 to 15 feet away and just pick an item at a distance. And I want you to focus on that item that's at a distance. And pick an item that's like at your horizon line, just straight across your field of vision, just right below your eyebrows. Now I want you to just softly relax your gaze. And as you stare at whether it's a book, a shelf, a picture, could be a nail on the wall, a window, I want you to just relax your gaze. Continue to breathe at the same rate, slowly. You start to notice how whatever object it is that you're focusing your gaze on, it's not as clear as when you have your regular opened eyes. So you just allow yourself to relax and have a more relaxed gaze, and you kind of see more shadows around that item in some cases. Some of you may even see energy around the item. Some people can see glows or auras or energy around things. Whether you do or don't doesn't matter. Just focus on the fact that how your perception of that item in that relaxed state, how it's a little different than when you see things crystal clear. Now in a moment, not yet, but in just a moment, I want you to come back and then bring your attention back to the Zoom call, looking at yourself and the participants in this broadcast. Now you're going to notice, the first thing is that you begin to notice and understand that you're feeling calm, you're feeling relaxed. Your brain during that small little few minute meditation immediately went into an alpha brainwave state. It was inevitable without my even having to guide you through a relaxation from head to toe. You automatically went there because your conscious awareness, which normally is like a floodlight, was now focused on the palm of your hand, and you were sensing, feeling, knowing what it was that you were feeling in terms of energy in your hand, and all of your attention was there, and you were really unaware of the rest of your body. And so the rest of your body became relaxed, and your brain was still listening to what I was saying. So you were relaxed, yet alert. You were calm, and you were focused. And it's as easy as that for you to get into heart and brain coherence. So does anybody have any questions about that so far? Okay, so we are going to move on. And as you are aware, we all have this power, like I said, to create this heart and this brain coherence. And when you have heart and brain coherence, that is the most powerful state that you can be in, because your heart, as I mentioned in the book, and as research shows, your heart is thousands of times more electromagnetic and powerful than the electrical waves that your brain creates. So when you get those two aligned, there isn't anything that you can't create. And all you have to do is want it, decide now that you want to have heart and brain coherence, and your body has to respond to the commands of your brain. So either you command your brain, or you go to default settings, or you are subject to whatever the whims of whatever TV programming or whatever programming is out there in the world, then you'll fall to that. So if there's one thing, I saw somebody write this not too long ago, and I said, oh, that's a good one. I'm going to have to share this with you guys. If there's one thing that you should stop carrying around after you're the age of 18, it's the weight of other people's opinions and criticisms. You don't have to carry around the weight of those criticisms and those opinions. So when would now be a good time to let go of the weight of the world, of what everybody thinks? The reality is most people are so worried about the things in their own life and their own world that they're not really spending all that much time, thinking about you all the time. So let's get to know ourselves. Let's stay in that open, decide, I want an open heart. Maybe your heart's already open, which is, wow, if your heart's open already, fantastic. That means that when you have the urge to cry, you feel sad or mad, or what, you allow yourself to feel that. And as you no longer resist it, then it can digest through your body, and then it's gone. and it's not bouncing, it's not ricocheting like this bullet that's doing all this internal damage to your body, because you allowed that energy to digest and to be released. That's how your body was actually originally designed, was for you to allow that energy. You feel the negative energy, it's giving you biofeedback, it's giving you very important information, which is why you need to feel it and not numb it out and not suppress it or depress it or repress it. So as it comes up, it goes out, you resolve, dissolve, and let it go. Okay. So is it clear to you guys how to open your heart so far? Or are you finding that I'm hoping you guys are all getting that. Half the battle is first of all, the decision. Number 2 is also doing your breath, which is the second part. You're actually in your thoughts, you're saying, I command my hearts to open. My intention, my command is for my heart to open and for my heart and my brain to connect. It really is as easy as that. Many of you, most of you, if not all of you, have already watched the video that I did on how to get into theta state. All we're doing in getting into theta state, which is first you're in an alpha state and then your brain automatically goes into that deeper theta state, which is a relaxed yet awake. It's that feeling that you have right before you go to sleep. I just remembered something that I could share with you guys that might help some of you. If you want to practice the theta state, there was a scientist, I want to say it was Edison. Pretty sure it was Thomas Edison. He used to fall asleep on his sofa and he would put a metal ball on his hand. And as he knew that in order for him to have, anytime he was trying to figure out a problem, anytime he was trying to invent something or come up with something new, he knew that he wasn't going to think his way to that. He knew that it needed to come from his intuitive side. So what he would do is he would take a metal ball, put it in his hand, he would lay down on the sofa and he would just relax. His intention was never to go to sleep. His intention was to relax and to get into that theta state. So the moment he started to go from theta into going into more of the sleep state, then his hand would relax so much that it would drop the ball, which would then wake him up, which would signal to him another cycle of time where he could go back and repeat that again. And so one of the things that he did was he would write down whatever, either a question or what it was he was trying to solve. So one of the exercises that I'm going to have you guys do tonight is in your composition notebook, if you don't have a composition notebook and instead you have 3x5 cards, I love 3x5. I do both, but I love 3x5 cards. So if you have a 3x5 card, you can use a 3x5 card. But I want you to write down 3 things. Like if there are 3 things that you would love your intuition to help you with, if you have 3 challenges, if you have 3 problems, if there are 3 areas of your life that you have a concern, if there's something that you would love to have an answer to, that if you had a crystal ball, it would magically bubble up and reveal everything you need to know. I want you to take a few minutes right now and then write 3 things that you would love an answer to. Okay. So I'm going to put a little bit of music on to give you some time to do that. I'm going to do 2 minutes. you one more minute. Seconds left. Okay. So that is 3 minutes. So now that you've written those 3 things down that you would like to get an answer from your intuition. So what I'd like you guys to do next is write down for each one of those things the optimal, like give yourself permission to think of the best case scenario for each one of those things. So I want to preface that by saying, did you know that a stealth bomber is guided by the coordinates that it has for its attack? So it's not until a stealth bomber has a GPS set to this is the target it's going to hit. It's that target that directs the stealth bomber from wherever it is in the world to go hit that target. That's what you're doing right now with your intuition. You're using your intuition and you're using your brain to set a target. Okay, this is what I want. We talked about dreams, goals, and targets, right? So you're setting that target. These are the 3 issues that I've got. I'm going to give myself permission. It's like, okay, well, if I had a magic wand and if I was a genie, I would love the answer to the first thing to be this. So kick it up a notch. Write down, in a perfect world where everything went my way, I would love for this. So go ahead. We're going to take a couple minutes. We're going to do 3 minutes again. And for each one of those 3 things, you're going to write down, give yourself permission to, how good can it get? And I want you to also contemplate, why might you want that thing, whatever that first thing, that second thing, that third thing is? Why might you want that? Why is it that you're wanting that change? And how ready are you to change? Write down on a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being I'm totally willing to change, 1, not at all. 0 is like, I'm on the fence, I'm not willing to do anything. Okay. So I'm going to give you 3 minutes to write that down for each one of your 3 things. And we are starting here. Okay, so that's 3 minutes. So now that you've done that, I want you to look at each one of those things and look at what you rated each one. And I want you to answer just briefly. You're going to answer why. Look at the first item. Why isn't that number lower?
Lillian, could you please refresh us on the numbers? I didn't quite catch that on the rating.
On the ratings here, can you see the screen share here?
No, let me see.
So
Oh, now I'm on an iPhone, so it's really tiny.
I'm going to make it much bigger then. Is that better?
Oh yeah, thank you.
Thank you for bringing that up, because you're not the only one who's probably on an iPhone. So yeah. So how ready are you to change the first item on a scale from 0 to 10, 0 being I'm not motivated at all to change,
Okay.
to 10 being totally ready? And I want you to do that for each one. Just rank it, rate it from 0 to 10. So the next thing I want you to do after you ranked and rated, you don't have to rank them. You just need to rate 0 to 10. 0, I'm not motivated at all. You guys are here on this call, so chances are you're going to have a number for sure. So 10 being you're very ready for change. You're very ready to bring in the best possible aspect for those 3 things that you wrote down. So next, you're going to look at each one, and next to each one, I want you to look at it, read it, mute yourselves, and ask yourselves out loud, why didn't I rate this less? If you gave it an 8 or a 9 or maybe a 6, why isn't it a 4, a 3, or a 2? Why isn't it a 1? Why isn't it less? And just as briefly as you can, just write down why it isn't less. Because you can start off with because, you fill in the blank for each one of those 3 things. And then I want you guys to each just wave your hand or show me that you're done doing all 3 of those. Awesome, Teresa. Thank you for letting me know. Just think about each one and pay attention to how your body's feeling. Why is it that that number isn't lower? Why is the number as high as you put, whatever your rating number is? And if you put a 1, why isn't it 0? If it's 0, why isn't it -1 or -2? Okay. How are we doing? How are we doing, Terry and Martha? You're still writing? Okay, good. Okay.
I'm done. Thank you.
You're done too? Okay, great. So all 3 of you are done. So now I want you, first of all, I want you to become aware that as you allowed yourself to think this, that you allowed yourself to feel this, now, a second form of manifestation is you've written it down, you're thinking about it, you're focusing on it, you're in a relaxed state. And I want you to, as you are aware, you're completely recognizing and understanding why you didn't rate it less. I think some of you may have thought I was going to answer, why isn't it higher? No, I wanted to know, why isn't it less, truly? So now, as you are aware of why you don't want it less, and you do really legitimately want it as much as you do, notice the feeling in your body. Notice your state of being. If you have any kind of tingling sensation anywhere, if you just have a sense of calm and ease and flow, become aware and just note that, and imagine that you've changed whatever that positive outcome, that thing that you gave yourself permission for, that first item. Give yourself permission to play, pretend, and make believe. It's like, okay, what would it look like if this first thing totally came to fruition in a perfect world where I had a magic wand and where my wish was my command? Oh, this would be doesn't have to make sense, doesn't have to be reasonable, doesn't have to be prudent or responsible or anything like that. It has to be just yourself giving yourself permission to what if. Now, what does that feel like as you ponder the first one? Just imagine that is so already. What does your body feel like? What are you thinking? What are you seeing? What are you hearing? What are you smelling? What are you tasting? How bright is your environment as you close your eyes and you just ponder the first thing? Is it a bright sunny day around you? What color is the outfit that you're wearing? As much as you can, revel in that sensation, in those senses. And then look at the second item. And with a smile on your face, take a look at that and it's like, what would that be like? Just play, pretend, and make believe. What would it be like? What colors would be around you? What would be the aromas in your environment? What would be the type of music in the background? What would you see? What would you smell? What would you taste? What would you sense? How would your body feel? How would your environment feel? How would you feel when you woke up every morning knowing that first thing and this second thing is done? And now this is your now, knowing that you actually created that. And as you take a moment to feel, sense, see, taste, and touch that, you now go to the third item. And you're like, wow, I really got the hang of this. I'm playing, I'm pretending, I'm making believe. I can see myself having that first one. Oh my gosh, that would be so cool to have one of these three things. It would be even better to have two of these three things be, how good can it get? But to have 3 out of 3, oh my gosh, can that be? Yes, it can be. What would that be like? What would that feel like? What would that sound like? How would you show up? How would you see yourself when you look at yourself now in the morning in the mirror, as you get ready to get your day started, as you finish your day in satisfaction, knowing that you created this change? You were the master of your own domain. You were the one who listened to your intuition, and you're the one who pulled that in. What would that feel like? How would people respond to you now in that state of being? And notice the sense of calm and how good your body feels in this present state. And I want you to then take a moment for each one of those 3 items. I want you to think about what's most important to you about that first item, about that second item, about that third item. Just write down. What's most important to me is that when this happens, and you fill in the blank, and do that for each one of those 3 items. Not what's most important to your spouse, what's most important to your mother, to your father, to your best friend, to your boss, to your neighbor, to your colleague, to your associates, to your clients. No, what's most important to you about having that first item being in that first item, having that as your reality, and the second thing in your reality, and the third thing in your reality. What's most important to you about that? Take some time. I'm going to put the music back on, and I will write these 3 things that I just mentioned to you down so that you can follow along. Okay. So now you're probably wondering, what's the next step? So notice that you're in a nice, calm, happy, more elevated state of being. You're already calm. So all you have to do next is relax, close your eyes, roll your eyeballs up so that you're seeing into your eyebrows. And as you slow down your breath, you slow down your heart rate, you slow down your brain waves. You choose to take your conscious awareness, and you're seeing a white light that is coming from all the stars, the star systems, all the star galaxies that exist all the way around you. And they're all pouring this brilliant white light with this golden glow around it. And it's coming through the top of your head. And as it starts to enter your crown, inside your head, through your third eye. It automatically comes down your throat and it connects the energy of your brain down to your heart. And you see that your heart is completely brilliant, glowing with that white light with golden edges around it. And your heart is just expanding, and the light around your heart and your chest is just, it's just bubbling outside of your body. It's so large, it's so rich, it's so just delicious. It's just so perfect. It feels absolutely glorious to you. And then the energy continues to fill the rest of the cavity of your stomach, your lower torso, your hips, your legs, all the way to your knees, your ankles, and your toes. And as the energy, that beautiful white, gleaming, glowing, gliding energy that has this beautiful gold luminescent glow to it around it, you notice that the energy goes through the soles of your feet. And your eyes continue to stay rolled up, to your eyebrows. And that energy is now sinking, and it's starting to go into the deeper levels of your DNA. And you notice that the energy is pouring into the core of the earth, and it just ever so gently swirls down clockwise into the core of the earth. And you kind of can feel the energy moving from your feet as you are this vessel, this pure vessel that's just allowing the energy of the stars, star systems, and the star galaxy. It's just all coming through you. And you are connected. You're the vessel that's connecting heaven and earth. And it goes to the core of the earth, and the energy continues to circle and circle around. And as it continues to circle around and around and around and around and around and around, it continues to then loop back up from the core of the earth, back up through your feet. And you feel a wonderful warm wave of love, of appreciation, of gratitude. And it's like this increased sense of knowing that everything is going to be fine. Everything is at the right time, at the right place, with the right people. And it's starting to, you can feel the energy moving through your feet and into your ankles, your calves, your knees, your thighs, your hips. It goes through the lower belly, the base of your spine, and it just is lighting you up like a Christmas tree. All the energy feels very warm, engaging, loving. Feels really good to your body, and it continues to swirl up in that continued clockwise direction. Clockwise, and it reaches your heart, and your heart is just eating up this energy. It's like, this feels like home. It just feels so fantastic. You just want to have this feeling stay with you all the time. Your heart just feels vibrant. It feels alive. It feels infinite. It feels powerful. It feels enthusiastic. It's exuberant and exhilarated, knowing what is to come, because what is to come is here right now. And the energy continues to grow and glow and swirl up through your throat, reaching your face. It's making your face just radiant and glowing and shining. And as it reaches your eyes, you notice, you realize, you start to recognize that the eyes of your body are not just the eyes that you physically see the 3D world with, but it's also your inner vision, the eyes from your inner eye, your third eye, and the eyes that are all over your skin and all over your body that see the light, that receive the light. And as that energy continues to be connected up with all the stars, the star systems, and all the star galaxies, it moves up through your eyes, to your pituitary gland, to your third eye, up through your crown. And in a moment, not yet, but in just a moment, when you know you've got it, you will know that this energy is complete, and you don't know when and you don't know how, and it doesn't matter because it is done. You've raised these 3 points. Your heart and your brain are in coherence. You've done your part. You stayed in your right mind. You are heart-centered. You're allowing the true you to be the tractor beam, to be the magnet that will draw any and all things that are required for you to move into that place of inspired action. And you will know when you know that you've got it, when you see, sense, smell, taste, and touch the signs, the symbols, and synchronicity. Day by day, in every way, you'll know it just keeps getting better and better and better. Awaken. Okay. So, my fabulous friends and gems, we are coming to the conclusion of this Intuition Manifesto Masterclass. Does anybody have anything that they want to share? Any question, any comment, any concern? Okay. So thank you for tuning in. Oh, go ahead. Were you going to say something, Terry? Oh, I think your iPhone's buffering. We'll give her a few minutes. Oh, okay, there we go.
It keeps throwing me into mute. I don't know why. Anyway, that was an amazing process and offering that you walked us through. I could feel the power of that, and the way in which you worded the questions was opposite of what logically you would think. And I understand that kind of, I don't know, encouraged us to go into a higher vibration, a different way to think about it and to hold the energy around something. So I really felt the power of that. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah. So what I did was the way I languaged the questions, I was mindful about my intention was to keep you guys opened and cleansed vessels so that there would be no resistance to you getting what it is that you want. So that's why your expectation probably was for me to ask you, well, why wouldn't you rate this higher?
Yeah.
That's usually what most people would ask. It's like, no, well, why wouldn't it be lower? And that's a resistance removal protocol so that you can stay in that allowing state and you can genuinely express why it is that that's legitimately so, and not that you want it less. And so, yeah. So I'm glad that you felt the energy and that you felt the power in that and you recognize.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for being the answer to my request to the universe, because I've kind of had a fleece out there saying, you know, how do I get the energy moving? Like I feel a little bit stuckish, like what, you know, I need a little tweak, and here it is delivered on a silver platter. So thank you so much.
Ask and you shall receive.
There you go.
I completely agree, Terry. You definitely said the same thing in different words that I'm feeling. I was offered a contract to be a therapist in Northwest Arkansas, which is a very beautiful part of the country, not just Arkansas, but the name of the clinic, guess what? It's called Wellness and Courage.
Oh my God.
I know. I just like, it might as well say Teresa A. James, because that's what I feel like it's saying. But I'm already at a good nonprofit. And so my questions were simple. How do I find, let me have the words to be released from Grace House with joy rather than, and that's what I came up with the word release.
Wow.
And then help me. And then I know exactly where I want to live, but I'm not sure how it's going to pan out money wise, but the money will appear. And then And then, of course, I always want to be a millionaire.
Of course. There's no shortage on the planet that it's already existing. It just needs to be transferred to you. So
Absolutely.
I love it. Oh my gosh, very fantastic. I love the name Wellness and Courage. That's obviously a heart-centered wellness center.
Oh, yes, they're therapist centric. So they do everything. All you have to do is come in, have your session, and take the notes. And listen, I'm going to send you a little recording of 16 women in recovery doing that breathing in unison. I'll send it through Messenger.
Please do. Please do. We would love
Oh, it's powerful. It's me going 2 breaths in, 1 breath out.
Put it in the Expression Manifesto group.
Okay. I'll figure it out how to do that. You're exactly right.
That would be awesome.
That's amazing.
Awesome. That's
Thank
amazing.
you.
That is remarkable. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's incredible. Both of you guys. Wow. Fantastic. Well, this is amazing. Thank you, you guys. It's we're 2 hours and a half. So I'm going to let you guys go. It's a perfect way to end the evening. You get to now, as you turn in for the evening, what I would suggest, if you're, PM hours, because you're here in the States, I would say, as you go to bed tonight, you can just relish in those 3 possibilities. You're like, thank you, thank you, thank you. Because your brain doesn't know that it hasn't happened, especially since you did this exercise. And so now, as you're like, oh my gosh, you can picture yourself just saying, oh my gosh, yes, 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 I did it, I did it, I did it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I did it again. You might even want to rehearse talking to your best friend or your mother or whoever it is that you would normally be your go-to best friend that you would share. It's like, you're never going to guess what this, and this happened, and just how they would react and how they would respond. And then just as you accept, you receive, and you embrace this reality, you go to sleep in the delicious feeling of that. And then the signs, symbols, and synchronicity start to pop up every day. And then it's like, then it's like Christmas every day, because you're like, oh my gosh, you'll get a private message from somebody, some sort of direct message, an email, a phone call, something will happen. It always works that way. So can't wait to hear next week as we continue on with our Intuition Manifesto classes. So thank you, you guys. You guys are amazing. I love you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Ciao for now.
We love you too.
I love you too.
Lots of love. Aloha.
Aloha, mahalo.
Aloha.
Yes.
Bye-bye, guys. Bye-bye.